Welcome to Pleasing Shiver. The show where I will be speaking about movies and mostly interviewing people that has to do with movies from all around the world. I will start this with showing some movies that I like, and hopefully you like them too and buy them, and the company see that the ratings go up and they will send me movies too. I really like this trilogy. It's about this science, really crazy science, who doesn't get to work at his place anymore because he's too gooky for that. You understand when you see the movies. It's 3 movies, and yeah, the guy that I brought this from put in a extra CD from the Swedish edition. Doesn't really belong here though. This is a German box, limited edition. I don't know how many, but it's not so special. Really, it's really nice art though. 3 movies. A 4th one were on the way, but that was some problem with the economy, I guess, because that never happened. But these 3 are pretty nice. So another movie that I think is really nice is Sting. Most of you have probably seen this, I hope. I think maybe this movie is forgotten nowadays, but it's not forgotten in my mind though. It's about this sting operation that goes. Let us see by itself how it goes. And it's also a Blu-ray, limited edition Blu-ray. I guess it's just fake limited edition. The printed out is a lot, I think, but this is really cool. It's like a book, so and it's even is book inside here. Pretty nice, and this is really nice. I even have the soundtrack for this on vinyl, and then we have The Deer Hunter. Really nice, really long movie. It's about the Vietnam War. It's a movie where you feel that, oh, now it's ending, and oh, it really was a good movie. Wait a minute, now it goes on. It's still good though, so you don't complain, but you think it's going to end, and then you feel again. And it goes on again. It's over 3 hours, not 3 hours or 4 minutes. So, but it's really nice and really haunting story, really realistic. So, shall we go to our first guest of this show? He's from Canada. Let's do that. Hello, Matthew.
Hey, Sonny, how's it going?
It's fine. How's it going with you?
I can't complain. It's weird with the time zone because here it's about like 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. So I think it's like 5 p.m. where you're at.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, you're in Canada.
Yeah, I'm from Montreal, Quebec, Canada.
I, I need to ask, how do you say your last name?
Oh, my
Saliba?
man. Yeah, actually, yeah, it's Saliba. Yeah, you
Saliba.
got it. Yeah, yeah,
Nice,
no.
nice.
It's funny. You're actually one of the few people who gets it right because most people, when they're like they review my films or they interview me, they introduce me as Matthew Saliba, but they forget
Ah,
that I. So
Saliba.
you get some extra points there.
Oh, nice, nice. And you're a movie director and a,
Yes, yes.
and an actor.
Yeah, well, I introduced myself as a reluctant actor because I was interested in acting when I was younger,
Yeah.
but it's kind of something I sort of do like in my own films or maybe for friends and that. I don't usually consider myself to be that great an actor. I find I'm more of a performer where I can sort of mimic emotions, but I can't actually feel them on camera. But
I
for some
see, I see.
reason, people keep they keep casting me in their projects, so I'm not going to turn them down. But yeah, I moonlight as an actor, but I'm definitely a filmmaker first and foremost.
Actor is just a side project.
Yeah, pretty much. Because I mean, filmmaking it's a very time-consuming and very expensive hobby. So I mean, it's kind of hard to sort of bounce from film to film year after year. So I kind of do like acting and writing and other kinds of film-related projects to kind of keep my name out there and keep busy.
That's good. That's good. When did you start making movies?
Well, I've been doing this for about 10 years now. But actually, the very first film related project I ever did was ironically in my high school economics class.
Oh,
Uh,
economic class.
yeah.
That
Oh, yeah,
oh,
yeah.
interesting.
Well, because what happened was that our teacher gave us a project where we had to pitch a product to a group of investors that were played by the other class members.
Yeah.
And so, since my friends and I we were really into film, we decided to make a trailer for a horror movie called The Other Side of Darkness. And
Sounded
somebody
nice.
had to, yeah, and someone basically, had to direct the trailer. And at the time, I was really into writing, and so I sort of, I guess, took it upon myself to direct the trailer. And I really found myself enjoying the experience because I sort of found filmmaking to be an extension of writing, only instead of writing with words, you're sort of writing with images. And so I
Ah,
really enjoyed the experience. And then it's funny because the next film experience I ever had was not actually in any film class. It was actually in my high school physics class, where
uh,
I had
uh,
a very I have a very unorthodox background in film. But so like physics, like I did, we had a project we had to do. So we did a documentary about lighthouses, and so again,
uh,
someone needed to direct and shoot this. So that was my background. But eventually, I went to film school and I learned all about film and film history. And I made a couple of films in film school. One of them was called The Manipulator and the Subservient, and the other film was called Pandora's Paradox. And
nice, nice.
I consider those two films to be, I guess, my first two real movies because that's when I started getting serious about the whole process. Like when I made my first film, I was like, okay, I don't want to just submit this for a final grade. Like I actually want to take this to film festivals and whatnot. And both those films did really well, and that encouraged me to keep going.
That's
And
nice.
since then, yeah, I mean, and since then, for the past 10 years, I've made 7 films and a feature and a couple of commercials and various technical credits here and there on different projects.
If we go back to this, when you did this lighthouse project, was
Yes.
that the beginning of your feeling that movies is what you want to do?
Well, you know what? I would actually even go back to that the trailer that we did for the economics
Oh,
class.
oh,
I really enjoyed the experience. Although I have to say, like when I first started out making movies, the idea was because at the time I wanted to be an actor, and I figured one of the best ways you could build a demo reel for yourself as an actor is to create your own work.
yeah, that's
And
true.
so like in the early days, like I made a point to cast myself. Like in the trailer, I was, the lead character. In the documentary, I played the host. So, but then at some point, I just realized that acting and directing is a very difficult thing to do at the same time because you have two different hats to wear.
Yeah,
And sometimes, like when you're the lead actor in a project that you're directing, it can sometimes be hard to be objective about your performance because you're sort of so steeped into that world that you don't it can be hard to judge whether or not you're doing a good job until after the fact. Like, when you're editing your footage and then you realize, oh shit, I wish I gave myself an extra take, or I wish I was behind the camera so I could see me doing this awkward facial gesture, or things like that.
Yeah, you
So
you
I mean,
learn over time.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
exactly.
that's how it is.
So I mean, so that's the thing. So I mean, so the only times I've ever really cast myself in my projects was when I guess I really couldn't find another actor for the role, because I do have that background in acting. But no, again, filmmaking has been a passion of mine for again like over 10 years. And I think it goes back also to my love of storytelling.
Huh?
Because when I was very young, actually the very first thing I wanted to be was actually a paleontologist,
Oh,
like digging up dinosaur bones and stuff.
interesting.
But but even then, like when I would give like demonstrations, like I would have all my dinosaur toys and like act them out and whatnot. Even then, I was really even more important than educating people. I was interested in entertaining people and making a story that people can relate to.
Huh?
So I've always been interested in stories. It started with dinosaurs, and then it worked its way up to short stories and poems, and then with acting, and then of course finally with filmmaking.
But you haven't done any related to that, to dinosaurs.
To
Yeah.
dinosaur? No, it's well, maybe one day I'll make a big CGI dinosaur movie, but no, I mean, in the beginning it was with my little dinosaurs and Ninja Turtles and all those toys, and which I find is a lot of you look back at it like like one of my favorite directors, Quentin Tarantino, like when he was young, he was playing with his GI Joes and reenacting scenes from film. So I think this is actually a very common thing for
Yeah, true.
storytellers. They there's different tools that they try to find to tell stories, and that was one of my first tools. And now I use film cameras.
I see you like comics behind
Oh
you.
yeah, well yeah, well no, actually we're in what I call my geek room. This
Ah,
is where I have like all my books and video games and comics. Like, I can give you a little tour.
so that's
Like,
your inspiration.
well, this is like I got some comics, more comics here,
Whoa, that's a lot of comics.
and then books. I don't know if you're seeing that, and posters and whatnot. I got lots of different inspirations. I mean, lately, I mean, like for the latest film I made, obviously the big inspiration was personal events in my own life. But yeah, I mean, like I've made like horror films in the past, and obviously that's influenced by my love of genre films and whatnot.
Uh,
And yeah, I mean, like there's different influences that are found in my work.
your new movie, your short movie here, has gone really well.
Yeah, no, I
Tell us
mean
about
it's
what is it? This movie?
sure. Well, the movie's called Eroticide. And the story, in a nutshell, is about a young man named Yan, he has an addiction to sexual humiliation. And at one point in his life, he was in a relationship with this woman named Kendra, and they had a very dominant, submissive relationship where he got off on the fact that she would sexually humiliate him in different circumstances. And then at some point, he, I guess, developed a backbone and he realized that this wasn't a healthy relationship for him. And so he decided to break up with her and, pursue a different life. And as he was on his journey to pursue a different life, he came into contact with another girl named Elise. And she's a very loving, doting, devoted girlfriend. And they have a very otherwise healthy relationship. But then one night they go out to a restaurant to celebrate their 9 month anniversary as a couple. And wouldn't you know it, Kendra, his ex, shows up, and this just stirs up a whole lot of emotions. And without giving too much away, he basically kind of goes on a downward spiral where he's sort of forced to reconcile the fact that maybe he hasn't completely gotten over Kendra, and he's got to make a choice whether he wants to continue on with this healthy, loving relationship with Elise or go back to a life of empty sexual gratification with his ex.
It's a lot of it's very different subject you bring up there.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, like, because I mean, yeah, you've only seen Eroticide, but all my films are basically categorized by my interest in the world of BDSM
Yeah.
and fetishes and kink. Um, but I think what's different with this particular film is that I find that this film is obviously it's my most personal movie. I would make an argument that all my films are personal to some extent, but I think this was the first time where I really sort of put myself out there, and I wasn't trying to hide any personal feelings under sort of pretentious art house symbolism that only I would understand, or I wasn't trying to bury my feelings or the statement that I wanted to make under conventions of genre where people wouldn't get it anyway because that's not why they're going to watch those movies. I really just I had something to say and I just said it, and to my big surprise, it seems like virtually everyone who's seen the film has really connected to the movie in ways that I couldn't possibly imagine.
Yeah,
I can't tell.
me
Oh
myself,
yeah,
me
no, sorry.
myself has seen it, and it's very special, and it's very down to earth, really, because everybody can
Yeah,
understand it. But then they maybe everybody cannot really relate to it, but they can understand it and feel something, and that's really
yeah, no,
interesting.
absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, yeah, people might not necessarily relate to the fetishistic elements of the story, but they can certainly relate to, let's say, being in a situation where they were in a relationship that was so life defining that it can be sometimes hard to move on from that into another relationship. Like sometimes people are in relationships with people that they never really get over them. And so I think that was one aspect of the story that people seem to relate to. I mean, I knew we had created something special because when I finished reading the script, I actually showed it to my wife. She was the first person who read it, and she was actually crying at the end of the script.
Oh,
And it's funny because I had two different reactions. Like the husband part of me, who hates to see my wife cry, was trying to console her. But then on the other hand, the writer part of me was really happy that she was
oh,
crying because I was like, oh yeah, this really works. This is great. So,
nice.
but yeah, I mean, like everyone who read the script was really, blown away, and they were able to, and they would tell me stories about their own relationships and how, these characters kind of spoke to them. So, yeah, it's been really amazing, and I think it's, the fact that people have been having such strong emotional responses to the film. For me, that's worth more than any award or anything like that. It's been really amazing. And it's been playing at all kinds of festivals around the world. And I think my only regret is not being able to attend these festivals in
Oh,
person. But because I know I would have loved to have been there in Sweden there for the screening that you guys did. That might have been a lot of fun.
yeah. There was one guy. He really kind of freaked out at this. I didn't like it at all. Oh, it was
Oh
terrible,
really?
and
Oh
like that.
really?
But
Okay.
that was a good reaction. Really, it affected him.
Okay.
So uh,
Well, that's the thing, right? I mean, for art is all about eliciting an emotional response from your audience. I mean, usually you want a good response, but I suppose I'll take a bad response too, because at least it affected him. At least he didn't. At least he wasn't bored.
yeah, no, totally not. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, when did you wrote the script for it? How long ago?
Um. Well, the script was written in, I believe it was in March of 2013. Actually, the it's funny because I mean the actual physical writing of the script took about a week.
Oh,
But I mean, the idea for the story was about like a good 3 to 4 years. I mean, simply because, I mean, obviously, like I said, it's a personal film. So, I mean, the events that kind of happened in the movie, I mean, it didn't happen literally, obviously, because it's fiction.
yeah.
But I mean, I guess because, I mean, at the time, I mean, the events were fairly fresh in my mind. So maybe there was a part of me that wanted to wait a bit and not explore that cinematically right away, just so I can maybe get some perspective on it. Because I think, if I had made the film at the moment that it happened, I probably would have, made Yan to be this good guy, and I wouldn't, show him with all these complexities and uh, negative aspects. I would probably want to paint him as the hero because at the time I felt like, the good guy. But so I mean, it definitely felt good to take some time away to look back on this in perspective. But I mean, yeah, the themes were always there, and it's funny because the story did kind of change quite a bit because originally it had gone in a different direction, and it was going to have more of a supernatural ending.
Oh,
But yeah, well, it's just because well, it's hard to
interesting.
talk about it because well, it was yeah, because there was going to be a bit of a supernatural ending where If I'm not mistaken, it was going to end where Elise was going to suggest to Yan that in order maybe for him to get over his ex, that she was going to suggest that the three of them, like her, Kendra, and Yan, have a threesome together.
Oh.
And and basically, as they were having sex, at some point, like her vagina would start swallowing Yan, and then her ass would start swallowing Kendra, who would be wearing a strap on, and then like they
Oh.
would
Yeah.
disappear inside her body. And so but the thing with that is like, I mean, obviously, first of all, the practical aspect of trying to pull that off would have been a nightmare.
It sounds
And
kind of
then
hard.
secondly, yeah, yeah, exactly. And then like secondly, it's just like up until that point, we've everything's been very real, very realistic, and then suddenly, all of a sudden, like we have this supernatural ending that comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So I think that would have just maybe killed. I think the film, like I don't think people would have, maybe bought it.
True. Oh, you're breaking up now. Hmm. Oh,
Are you still there?
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I think we're
Oh,
having some internet connection problems.
yeah.
Okay,
I
what?
one have to deal with that, I guess, when you're doing this. So it's okay.
Yeah. Okay. No. No.
Yeah.
No worries. Um.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well,
So I mean, anyway. So long story short, I mean, yeah, the idea existed for about 3 or 4 years, and then at some point, I just sat down to write the script, and then we shot the film.
hmm. What is happening with the movie now?
Well, depending on when this is going to go up online, tomorrow, February the 2nd, we have our Asian premiere at the Delhi Fetish Film Festival in India, which
Oh,
is pretty amazing because my films have never played in Asia before, so that's really going to be
nice.
great. And actually, I'm going to be doing a Skype Q&A at the festival, so that's going to be
Oh,
fun too.
nice. That's really nice.
Um, and then on February the 6th, we're going to have our UK premiere in London at the London Fetish Film Festival.
Oh,
So that's going to be great too. And then on Saturday, February the 8th, we've got our US premiere in Boston, Massachusetts at an event called Horror Erotica, where it's basically an evening of erotic horror themed movies.
it's really going around the world.
Yeah, no, it is, and that's what's been really
Interesting.
amazing. Because basically, my film got in at an event in Germany called the Fetish Film Festival in Germany, and the guy who's organizing the festival, he became my agent, so to
Oh,
speak, and he's basically representing my film at all these different festivals. So he's helping me get the word out,
that's
and
nice to get some help.
yeah, oh yeah, it is. I mean, he's saving me so much money as far as the film festival entry fees go and whatnot. But it's been amazing, and I mean, there's a lot more screenings coming up. We've got one in Italy, one in Denmark. There's one in Lisbon, and there's going to be some in Manila, Hong Kong, Paris, Amsterdam. So it's getting everywhere. I mean, everywhere except here in Canada, apparently. But 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 yeah. So if you have a passport, you can go check out the films at these festivals.
What will it? Will you make some release of it?
Yeah, at some point there will be a DVD. One of the things in the past that I've felt was that sometimes I kind of rush into the whole DVD thing,
Yeah.
thinking that like we'll print off, let's say, 100 DVDs, but then like I'll only sell 20, and then I've got boxes of unsold DVDs at home.
Oh
So
yeah.
what I want to do is try to build up interest in the film, and also the thing is, I find with some film festivals they don't like to show films that are already available on DVD because it kind of kills the exclusivity
Yeah.
factor. Because like why
Exactly.
would someone pay to see it in a theater when it's on DVD? So I think I want to wait for it to finish its run. So maybe if all goes well, maybe we'll do a DVD in the fall or maybe for Christmas, because nothing says Merry Christmas like watching a film about a woman emotionally destroying a man.
That's a good plan.
Yeah.
But so you're really into this kinky stuff.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. It's that's been a journey in itself, actually, because the thing is, when it comes to what turns us on sexually, contrary to what some people will have you believe, I mean, sexuality is not a choice. I mean, it is something that you're really born with. I mean,
Yeah,
you're
totally.
into, yeah, exactly. I mean, so you're just, there's just certain things that turn you on, and you can't really explain it. It's just a biological, chemical thing where, when you just see a certain thing, or if you touch a certain thing, or if you're in certain circumstances, you just get sexually excited. And for me, that's always been, that the whole world of BDSM and with fetishes and, the kink lifestyle. But for the longest time, I always sort of denied who I really was. I tried to repress that
That's a
because I
bad
grew up.
thing.
Oh, it is, yeah. I mean, because I grew up in a very conservative household where, the idea of anything outside of missionary sex was considered, morally wrong.
Mm.
And of course, also the friends that I had at the time, they were very, very mainstream, very into, obvious things like, boobs and ass and all that stuff.
Oh,
And I mean, that's not to say that I wasn't, but I mean, I had other interests, other parts of the body. Um, so it took me a while to slowly build confidence and sort of come out of the kinky closet, so to speak. And when I finally got enough courage to go out and do that, unfortunately, a lot of the friends and even some family members that I had at the time sort of disowned me. And it was just, it was a very, I mean, on one hand, it was sad to lose these people, but on the other hand, if a friendship could end over something as silly as what you do in the privacy of your own bedroom, then it probably wasn't a friendship that was worth keeping anyway. So
I
fuck them.
agree.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
And
agree.
in the process, yeah, yeah. So I mean, in the process, when I sort of joined, I guess the fetish community here in Montreal, I met new people. One of the people I met was a photographer named Mario Carangi, who I would end up collaborating on 3 of my films. And it's funny because Mario Carangi was the man who introduced me to my wife
Oh,
because he's a fetish photographer and he had done some shoots with my wife Pixie Saliba,
mm.
and it's funny how we did meet because there was one day I was at his house and he was helping me design the poster for one of my movies. And once we were done, he was saying, "Oh, I was supposed to do a shoot with this model, Pixie Fatal, and this other girl, but the girl had backed out. And would I be interested in doing the shoot with her?" And
Oh,
I saw like some of the pictures that she had done, and I was like, "Oh my God, she's so beautiful and she's so hardcore. So sure, let's do it." And so, we met. And at first, when you meet someone new, there's always that sort of awkward tension, or you're kind of shy, you don't know what to say. But the shoot went really, really well. And it's funny because then once the shoot was done, we were riding on the bus to go back to the city. And I was supposed to get off at a bus stop to go do some video editing, but something told me to stay on that bus with her. And I'm really glad that I listened to my intuition because, we got into the city together and we went out for dinner and then one thing led to another. And 4 years later, we're married.
that's amazing.
So I guess, I mean, to bring it back to your original question, I mean, I, in many respects, I owe everything to coming out of the kinky closet because, when I embraced this aspect of me and I started meeting people in the fetish community, I met, lots of interesting people, but above everyone else, I met my wife. So,
Yeah, the best thing in life is not to hide yourself from yourself.
exactly,
So
and it's very very hard. I mean, again, for me, it took many years, and for some people, they never really sort of come out of their shell and really admit who they are. And it's unfortunate that we live in a world that seems to encourage conformity instead of originality.
yeah, that was my another question. Have you met any negative folks that have told you that these movies are why are you doing this?
Well, my mom. uh, but no, you know what? I mean, because one of the things I really pride myself on my films is that I sort of identify the genre that I work in as sado-erotic, and which means like it's the I'm interested in the erotic presentation of sadomasochistic imagery as opposed to a pornographic one that a lot of people are associated with. I mean, I sort of pride myself on presenting it in such a fashion where even if you aren't interested in, whips or chains or feet or whatever, you could see why someone would be. You know what I mean? Like, I want to
Yeah.
present it in a very sensual way. And I think the best example would be like, I made a movie called Vampiros Lesbos, which was sort of an homage to the Jess Franco movie.
Nice
And
movie.
yeah, we could talk forever about that. But but at the premiere of that film, one of the actresses brought her mom, and I was scared because like in the movie, this actress, she was nude and she was doing all kinds of things, and so I was wondering what her mom was going to say. But once the film was done, we had our Q&A, and then after the Q&A, it was her mom who came up to me and kissed me, and she was like, "Oh my
Oh.
God, what a beautiful film!" And
Amazing.
that attitude, you know what I mean? Like that attitude was like that vindicates everything that I do. So I mean, so I don't know. I haven't really had any people, I mean, other than maybe some people making a couple of jokes, but sort of good-natured jokes, not like mean-spirited. So no, so far so good as far as that's concerned, and that's been really refreshing.
You're hanging in the right crew.
Yeah, yeah. So far so good. Can't complain.
Uh, so, tell you have some movies you want to show.
Yeah,
Some
sure. Well,
some of
yeah,
your
yeah,
favorite movies.
absolutely. Yeah, well, no, it's funny because yesterday to get prepared for because every time you do an interview, like obviously people ask, what are your favorite films? Because why not?
Yeah.
So I made a list of my top 30 favorite films. I
Oh.
won't read them. I won't read them all off, but I'll show you a couple of them here. Hold on one
Yeah.
second.
Do that.
Yeah. All right, so I got three of the films here. So it's hard for me to number all my favorite films because it really depends. Like I mean, like I love the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey. I mean, sometimes I would consider that like my second favorite film. Sometimes it would be my third. So I don't like to number my films, but I can tell you for sure what my all-time favorite movie is, and that doesn't change at all. And that is, I don't know if you can see it here.
American movie.
Yeah. So this is it's a documentary called American Movie, and it's by far the best movie about making movies. It's a story about a filmmaker from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, named Mark Borchardt, and it's about how he tries to make his feature film called Northwestern,
Is
but
it
unfortunately,
a fake documentary or real
oh,
documentary?
it's a real
Is it?
documentary. It's a
Yeah.
real doc.
Yep.
Yeah, it's about how he tries to make this movie Northwestern. It's his dream project, but because of he's one of these guys who I mean, well, he's an alcoholic, so obviously that kind of prevents him from getting things done. But at the same time, like he's also one of these people who kind of talks about making, like how we all have that friend who talks about writing a novel or making a film, but for whatever reason, he never gets around to doing that.
Yeah.
So he's kind of one of those guys. But at some point, he does sort of get it together, and the documentary crew follows him making a short horror movie called Coven, and it's a funny film. It's kind of a sad film, and it's a very interesting movie about the process of independent filmmaking. And one of the reasons why I consider it to be my favorite film is because whenever I watch the movie, depending on where I am in life, I sort of react to different parts of the film differently. Like for example, there's an opening scene where he's going through all his bills. Like he owes like $10,000 to the IRS. He owes like $15,000 on his Mastercard, and that's something I can definitely relate to a lot because obviously I had the bright idea of paying for all my early films on my Visa card, and I'm still paying that off to this day. So anyway, so I can definitely relate to that, but there's also different scenes like when I was well, not to say when I was young, not that I'm old, but back when I was younger, there was when I first got into film, like I was really all about yeah, I'm a filmmaker, fuck everybody who's not a filmmaker because they're wasting their lives and blah blah blah. And so there's a scene in American Movie where Mark Borchardt he's kind of drunk and he's talking about how he's never going to be one of those bitch ass factory workers because I'm going to make films, and I used to, really celebrate that. I was like, yeah, he's right. But now I'm 31. I'm going on 32. I'm married. I want to start a family. I have 3 cats. Different things. I sort of have different priorities in life. Like, I mean, I enjoy making films, and I actually do have a full-time job in the film industry, working as a film restorer. But at the same time, I think there's, as much as I love filmmaking, I'm also quick to admit that it is a frivolous hobby and that there are other things in life that are perhaps more important, such as your friends and family and trying to live a balanced life where you're not just obsessed with bouncing from one project to the next, where you actually do have time to sort of appreciate the small things in life.
Yeah,
And so
that's a
now,
very healthy view, I think. So
yeah,
yeah,
exactly. And so now, like when I see that scene where Mark talks about, people who don't make films, how they waste their lives, that scene makes me a little angry because, you're saying that because that's, filmmaking is the only thing that you do. You don't really have friends or a support system. So, I mean, it's easy for you to say, I guess it sort of goes to my general philosophy on life where it's easy to have an opinion about any given topic when you don't stand to have it challenged. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So like when I was 20, I was, back when I was 20, I was saying, oh, I'm never going to get married. I'm going to be a renegade artist and I'm going to live on the road and do this, that, and the other thing. But at that time, I mean, like, I didn't even have a girlfriend or any prospects of getting a girlfriend. So how could I ever imagine that I was going to get a wife or a family? You know what I mean?
yeah.
So, so anyway, so it's a wonderful film, highly recommended. And the great thing about this particular DVD is that it comes with the short film Coven that he makes, so you can actually see
That's
the
nice.
final product.
I need
So
to
it's
look that up.
interesting. Yeah, it's
I haven't
really,
seen
really
it.
great. Highly recommended. Another one of my favorite filmmakers is David Lynch,
Yeah,
and
I could almost understand that.
yeah, and so it's hard for me to pick. I mean, because I enjoy all his films. I mean, like he's um, one of the things I really admire about him is that he's had the ideal kind of career where each film he's made has been progressively better than the one that came before it. So, I mean, I'm inclined to say that Mulholland Drive is his best film. It's certainly his most accomplished, but my own personal favorite would be Lost Highway.
That's a really nice movie.
And what I love about this film, I mean, there's lots of things that I love about it, but what I love about this film is how, it really demonstrates what makes David Lynch so great, and that's his use of visual metaphors. Because one of the things I've noticed, like I used to be a teaching assistant for a filmmaking workshop, and where I would help the professor teach film. And one day we were doing this camera workshop with students, and this one student, like where everyone would take one shot, they would all film a shot. And so this one guy, when it was his turn, he was like, well, I want to do a Lynchian shot. And I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And so he was like, yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tilt the camera on its side and I'm going to put a blue filter and that's going to be a Lynchian shot. And I just looked at him and I was like, well, you think that's what makes David Lynch, just stuff that's weird for the sake of being weird? And that's what a lot of people think of David Lynch. And when you see all these sort of knockoff Lynch style movies, one of the reasons why they're usually pretty terrible is because they miss the point of what David Lynch is all about. And what he does so great is that he tells very timeless stories. Like, Eraserhead, for example. Like, Eraserhead, there's been so many theories about what that movie's about, but basically, in a nutshell, the story is about the fear of being a single parent, of getting your wife pregnant and then she leaves you with a kid. It's really as simple as that. But the way that he tells this story, how the child is sort of deformed and looks like a monster, that's sort of like a symbol for the fact that, how an unwanted child can very well seem like a monster to someone, so like he plays with these metaphors so brilliantly. And so what I love about what a Lost Highway in particular is how, again, this is fundamentally a story about a guy who's insanely jealous over his girlfriend and because she's very attractive and she gets lots of attention. And so, when he meets characters like Robert Blake's Mystery Man character, the Mystery Man, you remember that scene in the party when he comes up to Bill Pullman and he says, we've met
Yeah,
before, that wonderful scene?
yeah.
Well, because basically the Mystery Man, it's basically a symbol for Bill Pullman's jealousy. So when he talks about, we've met before, I'm right here, but I'm also at your home, call me because, that jealousy is everywhere. Like there's jealousy in the home, there's jealousy at this party, You know what I mean? Like, so that's what's really interesting about Lynch's work, and that's what I really like about Lost Highway. Plus, what I also like about Lost Highway is the whole sort of psychogenic fugue storyline, where basically, you know how there's two different stories that go on, and because Bill Pullman, he gets sentenced to death for killing his wife. And so what happens basically is that just as he's about to be electrocuted in the chair, like he basically creates a whole new universe in his mind where he becomes a different person, and circumstances in his life play differently. But just like any dream, like dreams eventually end, and so fragments of his reality kind of seep in, and then eventually it just collapses, and he's back in the electric chair.
Mm.
And so I love that about the film, and so yeah. So anyway, Lost Highway is one of my favorites. So highly, highly recommended.
I totally agree with you there.
And so another film, and this kind of relates a little bit to Eroticide because this was actually one of the big influences for Eroticide. It's a movie called Amour by Michael Haneke. Michael Haneke is a filmmaker that I recently discovered because I've seen like a couple of his films in the past. Like I saw Funny Games, the U.S. remake, and then I saw The White Ribbon. And I wasn't too big a fan of these, but when Amour came out in theaters, I heard a lot of really good things about it, so I decided to go check it out. I went in not thinking I was going to like it, but when the film finished, I was completely blown away. And watching this film, I had the same almost religious experience that I had when I watched Eraserhead for the first time, or even Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs, which originally got me into filmmaking in the first place. Because what I really liked about that film was how there's absolutely no soundtrack, there's no special effects. It's all, I mean, there's no fancy camera work. It's a lot of very long take, lots of static shots. And what really struck me about that film was how he had such confidence in his material and the actors that he hired to bring his story to life, that he didn't have to rely on all the bells and whistles that a lot of filmmakers do to make up for the fact that they usually don't have anything really interesting to say in their films.
Mm.
So with the with Eroticide, like I was really confident in the story, and I really didn't want to take anything away from the actors because they're the stars of the show. It's not the fancy camera. It's not the the red and blue lighting that's only there for stylistic purposes and not for any symbolic or story length reasons. It's not about fancy editing or music that takes away from the emotion. Like I mean, what I liked about it more was how like in scenes where there's a lot of emotional strain. In any other movie, there would be like someone playing a violin on the soundtrack, like trying to really enforce to the audience that this is sad, people. You should really start crying now because we're playing this violin. I mean, people should cry because of the natural, organic feel of the movie. And for me, it just really struck me as a very revolutionary way to make a movie. Because up until now, my signature had been, having wall-to-wall soundtracks in my movie, with lots of blood and lots of colored lighting and, fancy special effects. But with this story, I just wanted to tell a more stripped-down, basic story about something very human and very real. And Michael Haneke was a very big influence on that.
You have a trailer for Eroticon?
Yeah. There is a trailer online.
We can show that.
Okay, great.
Well, let me ask you a question. How often have you guys fucked? If you don't think you're good enough for someone like Elise, what the hell makes you think you're good enough for someone like me?
I'm not good enough for you. I'm not good enough for anyone. People like me aren't made to love or be loved. We're made to be treated like crap. And God help me. I love it.
Pourquoi tu dis ça?
Je te déteste. Je te le dis du plus profond de mon cœur. Chaque moment passé avec toi me rappelle que je me suis contenté de peu. Parce que je pensais pas pouvoir avoir mieux.
Now get that slut out of my sight.
Yeah, that movie seems really special, and
Yeah.
I have seen it, so I know. But the scene where the girl is spitting in his mouth there, that you even can see in the trailer.
Yes.
Tell us about recording that.
Oh, that. Well, it's funny because actually someone on the it was either the Eroticide Facebook page or I think the Facebook page for Stephanie Van Ryn, one of the actresses in the movie. They were asking if that was real or fake spits. And at first I'm like, well, I don't really think there's such a thing as fake spits, because even if there was fake spit, when you put it in your mouth, it eventually would become real spit. So I don't understand. But anyway, no, that was, that was real. She did it for real. It took a couple of takes because, we had to get it just right. And like sometimes like the spit would land on his chin or, it wouldn't land in his mouth. And it had to be kind of foamy too so we could see it. It was funny. I mean, because again, like we rehearsed with our actors for at least 3 weeks before we started shooting. And one of the things I really pride myself on is being as open and honest with my actors as possible. Like I don't want to surprise them. Like we didn't show up on set and then I told Jocelyn who played Yan, like, oh, by the way, Kendra's going to spit in your mouth now. So ready, action. So I mean, maybe in the beginning he was a little hesitant. But then I convinced him by saying like, what do you think happens when you kiss your girlfriend or whatever? I mean, you're exchanging saliva anyway, right? So, that's what's happening here. So, it took a little convincing, but eventually he did it. And, I mean, as far as Lisa, who played, Kendra, she's very game, like, you know what I mean? Like, she's very enthusiastic. Almost a little too enthusiastic, so which makes me wonder. But anyway, but no, they did it, and it was great.
Yeah, nice. I wish you good luck with that movie.
Thank you very much. Yeah,
and
no, thank you very much.
What is the future? Can you tell us about some future project that they have working on?
Well, yeah, that's the big thing right now. Yeah, no, for sure. Well, that's the big thing right now. I'm sort of, I mean, when it comes to like ideas for films, I always have a lot of ideas, but see, the way I sort of go about writing is that I kind of write stories in my head before I actually sit down to write it on a screen. Because I hate sitting down in front of a computer and staring at it for hours at a blank screen because I can't think of anything to write. So I like to take long walks and sort of meditate and really just think about different ideas. So right now, at one point I had a plan to maybe turn Eroticide into a trilogy where we would follow the character of Yan as he continues his spiral into self-destruction. And I don't want to give too much away because I know because the thing is I know what I want the last film to be, like the third and final part. So it's just a question of how we get to that third part. I need a second part of the story. And so right now I'm kind of wrestling with what that second part might be. But then actually recently I was thinking of another idea, and this one I could talk about a little more. Yeah. So the thing is with me is that I find when it comes to my general life, I find one of my strengths and also one of my weaknesses is the fact that I'm very empathetic. You know what I mean? Like I'm really able to put myself in the other person's shoes and sort of see the life from their perspective. And but sometimes that's been a really bad thing because when I was back a long time ago, I was in a job interview, well, not a job interview, but I was working for a company and they fired me. And when they were explaining why, I'll never forget this. I was actually like, wow, you're actually right. I'm sorry I was a bad employee because I was able to put myself in their shoes. So sometimes that's a bad thing. So one thing I was thinking about was how, with Eroticide, making the rounds on the circuits, because I mean, we didn't really get a chance to talk about this, but basically the inspiration for Eroticide was that this was sort of based a little bit on my relationship with my own ex. And one thing I was thinking about was how, like, what if my ex saw Eroticide? What would her response be to that film? Like, what if she decided to make a film on her own about our experience together? What would that be like?
That would be interesting.
So one thing I was thinking of was that maybe doing sort of a prequel to Eroticide. where we actually see the relationship of Yan and Kendra, but this time it's told from Kendra's point of view. Because one thing, because it's hard to talk about it, because I don't want to give away spoilers for
Yeah.
Eroticide for people who don't see it, but you remember how Eroticide. Okay, great. All right. So what were we saying? Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So you remember how Eroticide ended, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So one thing I've noticed was that something that people might have missed out on is that when Kendra gives her speech at the end, there's a lot of, it's one of these films where I think we're really going to have to release it on DVD because there are so many little clues that you kind of need to pick up on. Because if you notice, at some point, when Yan, well, in the beginning, when Yan and Elise come home from the restaurant, Elise was talking about, who is this girl that you were with, yada yada yada. And at some point, Yan says, well, it's in the past. It's taken me years to get over her. But then at the end of the film, we learned that Kendra and Yan, they were together for 5 years, but he broke up with her 10 months ago. So there's a difference there. See, he told Elise it's been years, but in reality, it's only been 10 months. And so that's a very important discrepancy that I wanted people to pick up on because that says something about Yan's character because, he lied to Elise. And
That's true.
The whole thing at the end is that she basically learned that this was Kendra's revenge. Like she wasn't planning for Elise to do what she did to herself. Like she just wanted to break their relationship up. But one thing I wanted people to understand from that monologue she gives at the end was that, Yan must have done something very terrible to Kendra for Kendra to get to this point in life. And so what I might want to do is with this prequel is maybe explore this relationship more between Yan and Kendra, where the audience learns, first of all, obviously how they met, what their relationship was all about, but then also what he must have done to Kendra to piss her off so much. So that might be something I'm going to work on. I mean, so because it's funny, like the way I sort of decide what project I want to do next is like, again, like I always have lots of ideas, but sometimes you get an idea for a film and then it just disappears. You never think of it again. But this idea for my prequel has been coming up again and again. And so something's telling me inside, like, it's time to sit down in front of your laptop and start typing. So we'll see what happens. But that's something that I'm kind of leaning towards a bit.
That will be very interesting to see.
Yeah.
Is there some movie that you would never do?
That I would never do? I don't know. I mean, it's funny because because this is a hobby. I mean, I find that I'm not in any position to say what I would and wouldn't do. Like, I mean, like as much as I hate films like I don't know, all those stupid like Scary Movie 5 or 6, stuff like that.
Yeah.
As much as I hate that, I mean, if Hollywood ever called me and wanted me to direct Scary Movie 7, I mean, I'm not in any position to say no, right? I mean, I could take the money and then put that money to good use and make my own personal movie. So it's hard to say. I mean, I could tell you what movies I would love to make. I mean, I have 3 dream projects that I would love to make. I would love to make a musical. I would love to make a children's movie.
Huh?
Like the
sounds like it would be a strange movie, maybe.
well, I mean, like, I grew up with movies like The Never-Ending Story and Labyrinth and Dark Crystal, so maybe a film like in that style. And the other movie, a dream project I would love to do would be like a Western, because I'm a big fan of Western films. So we'll see. You never know. I mean, it's just, again, sometimes it's all about the idea, Sometimes ideas come to you and you would never imagine doing something like that, but we'll see what happens.
Interesting. I must say, this is very interesting to hear you speaking about this.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, I love doing interviews like this. I mean, like, I always felt that, I always feel a little cheated when I, find out like one of my favorite directors is being interviewed and then they don't have anything interesting to say or they're very reserved in how they talk. And I always vowed to myself when I was younger that if I ever got to a point where someone actually wanted to interview me and ask me my opinion about something, that I would just never shut up. I would just keep talking and really give people their money's worth. So whoever is listening to this, I hope you've been enjoying what I've had to say.
We have come to the end of this show, I must say.
Okay.
But first, I want to challenge you on a thing.
Okay.
That I will challenge all my guests on.
Okay.
And I will have behind. I will have the score for it. Me
Okay.
versus the guest.
Okay.
And it is rock paper scissors. You know the
Okay.
game?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Of
You know?
course.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So we will do like 1, 2, 3. We will have
Okay.
on 3
Okay.
there.
Sure.
You know?
All right. So I
Yeah.
got it. Okay. Yeah. There we go. Okay. All right.
You ready?
Yeah. Go ahead.
1,
1,
2, 3.
3.
Oh, now we need to do it again.
Oh yeah.
You were pretty
Gotta
slow
aim.
there.
Wait. Gotta see. Wait. Okay. Wait. Here's my camera. Okay. Yeah. Okay. There we go. All right.
Are you ready?
Yeah. Go ahead.
1,
2,
2, 3.
3.
It's
What did you shoot?
it's a draw. Oh.
Oh, it is. Oh, you.
Sorry.
What's? Oh, okay.
Oh, you didn't see me.
All right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. See, there you go. All right. Let's do it one more time.
Okay. 1,
1,
2,
2,
3.
3.
It's a draw
It's
again.
a draw again. Oh, really? All right. Here we go.
I think my cam is slow over at your place.
Oh.
You're getting
Yeah, that might be.
after me, but it's okay.
Yeah,
It
all right.
works out this. Again.
Okay.
1, 2,
2,
3.
3. Scissors.
Oh, you cut my paper.
Oh, there we go. Great.
Best of 3, by the way.
Best of
But
3.
no, I mean
Okay.
first to 3. Sorry, first.
Okay.
First
Okay.
to 3. 1-0 to you.
Okay.
Again.
You go ahead.
1, 2,
2,
3.
3.
Nice rock again.
Oh, rock. Okay.
Yeah. 1, 2,
2,
3.
3.
Oh, it's a draw again. Ah,
Really? Oh my
yeah,
God.
scissors.
All right.
1, 2, 3.
3.
Now you took my stone.
Oh, there we go.
2-0. Oh.
Okay.
I need to. All right. I cannot lose to my first guess. This isn't good. Okay. 1,
1,
2,
2,
3.
3.
You see? Scissor. It's
Yeah.
a draw.
Oh, draw. All right.
1,
1,
2,
2,
3.
3.
No, it's a draw
Did it
again.
draw again? Oh my God.
This was a hard
All right.
game. 1, 2, 3.
3.
Oh, I cut your
Oh, you did.
bag.
There we go.
2-1.
2, 1.
I can still win. 1, 2,
2,
3.
3.
It's a draw. I will. Here you can see better. Maybe.
All right.
1, 2, 3.
3.
It's a draw again.
Oh my God. Go ahead.
1, 2, 3. One, 2,
2,
3.
3.
Ah, you won.
Oh, there we go. 3, 1.
Ah, congratulations.
All right, thanks.
Now I need to put up here somewhere guest 1 and me
Yeah.
0. Oh well, I need to thank you for this, to being the first guest on my show.
Thank you very much. I had a really, really great time.
Yeah, it was really nice to listen to you.
Yeah, well, it's great to finally put a face to a Facebook friend
Yeah.
and a voice too.
Well, we probably stay in contact. I don't know when this will come up, but we see about it.
Okay.
So you take care, and you tell
All
your
right.
friends
You too.
about this show.
I will, absolutely.
Bye.
All right. Take care.
So now you have seen the first show, and we had a little difficult with the connection sometimes there, but it was pretty okay. So we'll see how the next show will be. So stay tuned then. I don't know. I'm sorry that I don't know when it will come, but hopefully very soon. So be sure to check my Facebook page, because I will update it. It's down below. So see you next time.